Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back Gavan Brown from Roxley Games. Roxley's newest hit, Excalibur, is currently available as a late pledge on Kickstarter. Gavan, welcome back to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you. That's quite the intro. Love it. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's awesome having you on. I always love having Canadians on this. It's like a rare treat, right, for us to be able to get the Canucks on this podcast. There are a number of publishers in Canada, but to the size and success level of yours, it's a handful, right? So it's cool to have you on, and being a backer of some of your games in the past, it's always cool to see kind of that extra little bit of touch you guys put into your games. So we're gonna get into that on today's episode. The last time you were on this podcast was episode 155. That was like 3 years ago. So for people who want to go back and check that out, they're more than welcome to. But maybe
epic episode.
Oh, it was epic. Yeah, absolutely. But maybe we'll start off just getting you to kind of give us a little bit of your background of how you got into this industry. I know you were a bit of a creative director prior to this, and can you give us kind of a quick little synopsis?
I've been a graphic designer since I was 16 years old, and I was designing my mom's and her friends' business cards in CorelDRAW 3. And I went to school to be a programmer, but my passion has always been was always back then in creative direction and graphic design. And I've designed hundreds and hundreds of logos, so I consider myself a bit of a branding expert, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've done the creative direction for most of our games until recently, where we've had James take over that role. Mostly, I'm still doing creative direction for the new brass and a few other things. But mostly, he's for Excalibur. James, our new guy, James Vankirk. He's not new anymore. Actually, he's been here for almost 2 years. But he's doing a lot of that stuff now. So, but in the board, would you like to know more about what I've done in the board game industry?
Sure, you've done some smash hits, man. Let's get into it. Yeah.
So, Roxley's, it's our 10-year anniversary at Roxley. So.
Congrats.
In that time, we did Super Motherload was our first game. And after that, we did Steampunk Rally, which was our first Kickstarter success. I think it did 275,000 Canadian, which back then was like a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very, very special to us because it kind of represented the opportunity to truly make a go of it and create a studio. After that was Santorini, which did, like 600 something thousand, which was amazing. And after that, then it starts getting blurry for me. But after that, we did Dice Throne, we did Brass, Lancashire and Birmingham. We did Excalibur, we did Skyrise. So there's been a lot of good games. Ironclays, we did a campaign for.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of games. So.
I think most people listening probably have at least one, if not two or three of those on their shelves right now. So it's cool to hear you kind of run them off. And again, kudos to the logo. I know you're a branding guy, and we commented last episode about this as well. As I love the Roxy logo. It's probably one of my favorite logos in the industry. You guys did an amazing job on that. Your transition, kind of handing those reins off to someone else for creative direction. Is this driven by having to kind of take more of a lead role, given the amount of stuff you guys are doing? Is this just based in a need, or?
I'm really good at creative direction, but ultimately the reason I got into this is actually because it's always been my dream to actually be a game designer, which is how I started. Like, actually, I started doing art for like companies like Tasty Minstrel Games, but even before I was doing art for board games, I was doing game design. So throughout my 20s, I did a lot of, like, I wanted to be a video game designer.
Yeah.
For a very long time, and I realized that's kind of like it's a very difficult to be a video game designer because you have to be a cog in this giant machine for a long time, and maybe you become one or maybe you don't. And now it's a lot more accessible as a career path for somebody to be a video game designer because of all these like tools and stuff that allow small teams to create video games. But even still, I've found that I love creating physical things. The video games don't have the. I've always been obsessed with like social gaming in social settings. I owned an internet cafe for like 8 years, and it was all about people coming together and playing video games together.
Yeah.
And so board games give that social kind of interaction that you don't get from video games. Like video games, there's part like couch co-op video games. There's You Don't Know Jack or Jackbox games now they're called, but those still, you're looking at a screen, you're not looking at each other. So with a board game, you're sharing this thing in the center of the table, looking directly at each other, watching people play. You get your turn, everybody's watching you, and you're in the spotlight.
Yeah.
That's just something that video games don't have to the same level. So I want to be a video game designer or sorry, a board game designer ever since I played Carcassonne. Um, and uh so I've been trying to like I'm 45 years old, and after 10 years I'm finally able in a position where I can hand the creative direction off to James, and I still participate like, and we collaborate constantly, but he's doing the majority of the heavy lifting and creative direction going forward.
And you get to
So
focus on the parts you love.
yeah, I get to focus on game design and product design. So I'm really also, with the Excalibur, me and James came together, and I'm sure we'll get into that, but we
Yeah.
came together and did a lot of the product design for the box and the components and stuff like that. So
Super cool. I don't want to miss the one note you said about the games versus like board games versus video games. It's true you can form connections through video games and some of these kind of online, experiences, but you don't see as many friendships, like real friendships form like
mhm.
you see in the board game industry. And I'm part of a local meetup, and just a number of people I see that have only met in the past year and a half that are actually true friends, and they hang out quite regularly just from coming to these meetups. Like it is
Totally.
a great catalyst for social relationships, which I think is amazing and is really kind of a gift to society that I think board games has brought.
Yeah,
So
and I actually don't want to degrade or lower the perceived value of video games. Like, for example, my brother-in-law lives in New Zealand, and he's one of my best friends I've
sure,
ever had in my life. And we play, Warhammer 40K Dark Tide together, and we'll play, Path of Exile 2, and like I play a ton of video games because I get a lot of inspiration from them. And I'm a very hardcore video gamer. So I love video games.
yeah.
Absolutely love them. And yes, you do formulate and maintain relationships through video games. And they're very important to my family actually, because I have three boys who also play video games in my office with me. We play video games together, and they play with their uncle who lives in New Zealand.
Oh,
So
it's amazing.
it's one way for them to
Stay connected.
not just like have a phone call once in a while. They can actually be in an adventure together, right? Which
Yeah,
is not even something board games can do. I guess on Tabletop Simulator, but it's more difficult, right?
sure. Yeah, that escapism, I guess, is more what you get with the online video games, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. With Excalibur, so how did this game come about? And we're going to get into the box and kind of the chunky components, because I mean this is clearly something that Roxley is become known for, right? And I can just go back to my own experience with, um, you go even further back to like Santorini, right? And seeing what you guys did with that in terms of, um, for lack of a better word, taking an abstract game and really making it come alive in terms of the theme and the plastic components and so forth. My game Skyrise I had where we had the clay buildings that were ink washed and just like uber high end quality you put into the game, and certainly that's what's I think carrying over we're seeing in this game as well, where it's pretty impressive what you guys put together. But start off, just tell me, how did the Excalibur game come about for you guys?
Well, I mean, I've like so Manny Tremblay, he's the illustrator for Dice Throne. He's also one of the creators of Dice Throne.
Yeah.
He is one of the best because there's different types of game designers, right? There's some that are like more on the development side. They're like engineers, right? So they can take a game and they can tune it and like use their experience to create meta and stuff like that. And then there's designers who are like fundamentals designers that are people who can conjure things out of the ether on a blank
Mm,
page. And Manny, like the type of creative work he does, if you ever see him illustrate, he can just like there's no line work. He just starts painting. Like there's a live video, there's a video stream of him doing a live stream of him painting this like treant basically for the game,
Hmm.
and for Dice Throne, it was one of the characters, and it's like he's just filling in lines and colors that already exist on the page. He just knows exactly what to put on the paper, without even kind of he just can visualize it so perfectly in his mind that he doesn't have to do any sketching or line work. He just draws it all as was fully intended, and he says all done. That's my illustration. And he happens to be equally good at vomit. He calls it vomiting something onto a page with game design, which is one of the hardest things for many game designers.
Yeah.
Which is just so we were working on a game concept a while ago. Like actually, we have several games that we're working on together. Because he's such a special human being. He's just such a kind human being and just fun to work with all the time. He cares so much for others. And I love his passion. I love working with him. So like, if you talk to him for about 5 minutes about a game design idea, he will come back to you the next day and say, I don't know if any of it works, but I have it. I've made a prototype in TTS like
Oh
of
wow.
this game. And because he's just so good at like the first steps, just slamming something onto a page.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've great just through inspiration of him, like not being afraid, just get it to the paper, to get it down, get it in a program, get it in TTS as soon as possible. And he's just really, really good at that. So he's actually in the past few years, he's got Chip Theory Games that has done a few of his designs. So anyways, this one, like I play tested and I was like, it's like novel in its concept. It's basically reverse old maid, right? Where
Yeah.
instead of not having the bad thing at the end of the game, you want to actually have the one good thing at the end of the game, and you're just trying to find this one good thing by the end of the game, and you're doing that through, playing these chips on the table and flipping them over, and party games. I would as a publisher, I'd fancy myself having a pretty broad taste in games.
Yeah.
So when people come to us, like, what kind of games do you guys make? What, like, do you want, like, so sometimes people be like, I got a steampunk game because you guys like steampunk, because you did Steampunk Rally, right? It's like, that's not how like, in fact, that's actually bad. Like, we want different games. We don't want
Yeah.
more steampunk games just because we made a steampunk game. Anyways, so, where was I going with that?
So we're talking about how he's kind of how
Yeah.
the Excalibur had come about, and so it's the reversal made,
Yeah.
or for people that I guess Love Letter would be another example of that, right?
Yeah.
Of kind of not getting stuck with that final thing. You want to get stuck with that final thing. So
So I actually said like we don't usually do party games, like we've done
yeah,
guerrilla marketing, and this is like very very light, but it's like it's good, and you play test it, like that's like I tell people, we don't want a specific type of game, we just want good games, right?
yeah,
And that there are some that we wouldn't do a massive war game, we wouldn't do an RPG, that kind of stuff, or at least not that I could see us doing. But any type of board, card, dice game that's good. So I tell designers, if you want to pitch something to us, think about what's your best design and pitch that game,
yeah.
right? That's what I want. I want the best games.
Why not the
So
RPGs and the war games? Is it just based on development time, or
like I have a lot of experience like playing D&D. Just I played for a few years with my kids, so like I'm not a DM, and I don't know all of the every single rule of the fourth edition or whatever, uh or fifth edition or any, like I don't know all of the rules, like my kids do that stuff.
yeah,
And I love playing D&D, but it is there are the systems, like the systems are highly complex. There's a lot of writing. There's a lot of content churn, and I think the content churn is really, and the editing that would be required. It's just like such an obscenely massive undertaking,
yeah,
that I don't think that we would do it because of that. I like to create systems, right? I'm like a systems designer.
yeah?
So that's why.
Especially with the number of, like, because you guys are, what, at least 2 games a year? Would you say you're pumping out?
one to two. I mean, we want to do two. We want to do two. We want to do
Yeah.
a light one and a big one. Like we want to do a
Yeah.
simple one and a big one. So this year, we're trying to do two. So one will be brass, which is big, and then one will be Excalibur, which we already did.
Yeah. Yeah, just the development time alone. Like I've had people approach us and say, "Hey, why don't you do something like bigger?" And they're like, "No, every game we have is like an hour or less playtime on the table."
Hmm.
And it's just out of practicality. I'm a company of one,
Yep.
right? And to
Yep.
to to get the kind of frequency out that I want, just the development time's too long for those longer games. Like I just,
Yep.
if we had a larger resources around us, maybe down the road. But right now, we're very kind of narrowed in what we're focused on. So it makes sense. This whole kind of, for lack of a better word, pimping out the components. How did you guys start that process? Because you got like a metal, a couple of metal, actually three metal swords in this box. One that actually fits magnetically into the cover and all this kind of stuff. So how did that discussion kind of come about?
I mean, with every game we do, so there's different types of innovation, right? There's
Yeah.
gameplay innovation, there's narrative innovation, there's aesthetics innovation, right? Theme innovation, like that's a new theme, right? There's also technology innovation, right? And there's also component innovation, so product design innovation. We try to innovate on all fronts, right? What's different about the theme, right? Like Steampunk Rally, and this is credit to Oren, right? Because he made the theme,
Hmm.
but it's fantastical machines, but you're actually using real life inventors, so there's like a human connection there. And the theme felt very interesting and innovative, right? So every time we try to innovate the theme, every time we try to innovate all the graphics and the gameplay and everything. Not always is everything uber innovative, right?
Hmm.
But we try to, and we try to think about those things and how we do different things. So like with our deluxe editions, I mean it keeps ratcheting up endlessly forever, right? Seemingly. And lately, it's kind of like people have become almost conditioned to deluxification.
Yeah.
And so deluxification is the baseline, and it's not really that special to people, right?
Mm.
Um, in general, because it's just like, oh, well, obviously you're doing acrylic tokens, and obviously you're doing plastic cards and stuff because that's what I would expect baseline, right? And that's, it's not everybody, right? But there's a lot of like, you do something for a certain amount of time and it becomes a standard and then it's not exciting anymore, right? So in the case of Excalibur, it's not really like, and this is my favorite games to deluxify are smaller games because you can do crazy shit. Like you
Yeah.
can do like, so with Excalibur, it's a small game. We want to charge something that people can actually afford, especially for the for how heavy the game is, right? But I actually don't like, because a lot of people, feel like, well, this game isn't heavy enough to justify making it beautiful, and I disagree. Like if you play a game a lot, if a game is replayable, which we only want to make games that are replayable,
Yeah.
I think that making a small game deluxified is actually more valid. Like the way we deluxified Radlands, like for me, that's a perfect product to deluxify because
Mm.
we can do whatever the hell we want. We can make everything awesome, and it's still like not insanely expensive, right?
Yeah.
And you have this like little thing on your shelf that feels like it has so much value. It's like a diamond, right? It's like it feels so cool, right? So with Excalibur, we kind of like went ape shit. I was like it started out as like, what if like on the cover there was like a metal sword that you like pull out of the cover, like out of the stone? Actually, it started out with like you're pulling the sword from the stone
Yeah.
before you start the game, and it kind of evolved into this like sarcophagus, right? Where it's like this, it almost looks like an old king is buried inside this thing, and his sword was laid on top of it or whatever, and there's stained glass on it, and so it kind of like, so we have this sword in the cover, and then we're like, we're talking about like, what about multi-layer, like the way we multi-layer like game boards and stuff and player boards especially, like what if we multi-layer it? And then we're like multi-layering it, and it's like, what if the like surface below, like, so we have this lid and this thing. But what if the surface below was also multi-layered? So there's like 4 layers of depth in this thing, and it
Yeah.
looks, and it like we got the sample, and it was just absurd. Like I was so excited. Like I was just mind blown because it was like almost perfect the first sample that we got, and I was just so happy. Because I like it was like something that I want to own. And that like that's how we deluxify. It's like how would this impress me? And I'm not impressed by a lot of stuff anymore. Like if you put, plastic bits in your game, I kind of don't care, you know. I'm also a person that wants to use the appropriate type of bits for the appropriate game. So like, people have said, "Hey, you should put like plastic industry buildings in brass." I would never do that
Mm,
because the aesthetic of plastic doesn't feel like it matches brass. Brass is
yeah.
like feels classic. So I want to, whenever we can. So the exception would be iron clays, which are partly plastic. They're plastic mixed with clay, but mostly I want to have wood and stuff in that game. You know.
Yeah. What I really liked, I was just showing on screen here while you're talking, that layered box. Um, First, I think it's super cool how you've got like a tray to actually hold each of the tokens, right? So they fit in,
Hmm.
everything fits in nice. But what I'm starting to see more often now at game nights on a weekly basis, when someone brings their most recent Kickstarter, there's like some time spent kind of showing off the game before you even play the game, right? And so
Hmm.
this plays very well into that, right? Like I can see people definitely getting this when they get their Kickstarter, bring it to game night and say, "Hey, check this out." And everyone's like, "Oh my god, look at that! Oh, look at this!" And going through that whole thing you just expressed before they even get to the game. And I think that's part of the experience that a lot of publishers kind of miss out on is just kind of the showpiece of it all, right? And
Hmm.
there is when you're doing Kickstarter, obviously a certain pledge amount you need to kind of set your games at so that you can afford marketing and so forth, right? So
AOV, yeah.
yeah, so you have to have
So you
quality
can
to
afford shipping,
yeah.
right? Like you can't sell a $20 game on Kickstarter.
You
It's
cannot.
like it's impossible
Yeah,
because, well, because when you set the shipping to $20 and the game costs $20, the shipping ratio is 100%. I'm paying
yeah,
100% shipping against the cost of the game. People need a ratio that's like more like 80/20, like $80 for the game, or sorry, I guess that'd be like $100 for the game, $20 for shipping kind of thing. Like that's ideal, right? But when you're making a smaller game, you can't do that if it's very basic, right?
this is what I
And
had. Was
that's
one of
what.
the first games I launched was a card game, and it was that exact example. I had people saying, "Oh, your shipping costs are the same cost of the game. This is ridiculous." And I'm like, "Would you rather I charge you more for the game so you feel better about the shipping?"
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
trouble getting my head around it. And I realized that you gotta, unfortunately, the psychology of it has to come into play when you're designing these things as well, right?
Totally.
If you're
And it
doing it,
applies to me too. Like
yeah,
I go shopping on like some clothing website and man, oh man, the shipping's $30 on my $60 order. That ratio's too high or too low, whatever. I don't want to pay that much shipping on this much product
yeah.
basically, and I abandon my cart, right?
But if they're
So I
selling for
get it.
$80 with free shipping, all of a sudden it's like, wow, I get free shipping if I buy
Exactly.
this item, right?
Totally. Yeah. And then
Uh,
you mentally feel like this is more convenient than going to the store, and I'm getting $80 worth of value out of it, even though they're just literally plugging that value into the product.
just
But that's
bearing it
the
in, yeah.
psychology I want, right? That's the psychology that consumers want.
Absolutely. One thing that I was mentioned just before we went on air that I was really impressed by was the content creator video you had. So in the upfront video you have, which is a campaign video, and there's even a how to play as watching as well, where you had the same content creators who are all quite popular, right, in this
Hmm.
industry, all together at the same table playing this game. How did that come about? Like, how did you guys organize that? I gotta imagine that would have been a bit of a feat to get all those guys together.
Totally.
And what was the kind of the thought process of saying, okay, this is somewhere we're gonna invest because that is an investment. There's no doubt,
Yeah.
right?
There was this that was totally the brainchild of Kira. So Kira's she's well known in the industry, off-duty ninja. Many people have heard of her.
Yeah,
She's helped so many campaigns get millions of dollars in funding, and she's been working with Roxley forever. And recently she's joined on with us full time. And so we have this mastermind marketer like on our team, on our internal team now. And she knows kind of everybody. She knows all the
Yeah.
content creators, and the ones that she doesn't know, she's very good at getting to know them. So I probably could never pull that off myself. And so all credit goes to her for that. But she was like, what if we did something crazy, like we got a castle and we played Excalibur in the castle, and like we could take like lots of video and lots of B-roll, and that's kind of what she did. And she reached out to all the big, famous industry media creators and got them together, and we paid for this castle in Indiana for them to all stay at, and covered also their travel a lot of the time, and
Oh wow.
so yeah, so it was I mean it was a big investment from a marketing perspective, but like you need to do those things in this industry and in this climate. You need to, innovative marketing, right? And like I ask Kira to, like think of stuff outside the box that other people aren't doing. We
Yeah.
don't want to do what people are doing. We want to do what they're not doing, right? Because what they are doing, is just the baseline. Obviously ads, everybody's doing ads and stuff, but what are we doing for to go beyond that, right? And she really stepped up to the plate and did made something special there.
Yeah, kind of say it becomes wallpaper after a while when you're just copying what everyone else is doing, right? But trying to think
Yeah.
different and say, okay, how do we approach this in a very novel way? And would that have been time with like Gen Con or something like that to try to get everybody at least in the roughly in the same area or
It would no, it was timed with Gamma. I think it was
yeah,
near.
okay.
It was like around the time of Gamma. So, it was like lined up like they could have either they went before to Gamma and then right there,
Yeah.
or the other way around. It was kind of around the same time.
Oh,
So
that's crazy.
yeah, so it was kind of in line with their travel already, which was also way smart. And then, Tim Kwan, that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah,
He did like lots of B-roll for us, which was awesome, just beautiful.
it
And in
is.
fact, we had like a Kickstarter, like a narrative video that we were working on. And yeah, it was a comedic video, and we had like time invested in it in a script. But comedy's like, I'm not an unfunny guy. And there are lots of joke makers on our team, right, that
Yeah.
are actually legitimately funny human beings. But I'm telling you, creating like a trailer that is funny, and we've tried it twice now, is extremely difficult and really should only be attempted by someone who specializes in that and has has years of experience
Oh yeah.
with theatrical comedy, right? Because it's much different than just making jokes, right?
Yeah, it can
So
land pretty flat too, right?
yeah, and so we abandoned that idea because we had so much like B-roll and good stuff and so we just kind of used that for the trailer for Kickstarter, various clips, from the trip. So
Yeah. No, it was
it
awesome.
turned out to be even more valuable in that regard. So
Yeah, I was saying just before we went on air too is that I mean I'd be remiss to not mention like how much this funded and is still in late pledge, right? So people can still pledge for this if you go to the Kickstarter page, but almost 700,000 Canadian on a goal of 34,000 Canadian in this current environment. That is a smash hit, right? It
yeah,
is. It is. The industry unfortunately has taken a hit, right, with the most recent, for lack of a better word, trade war,
yep.
and so
And there's also like backer confidence in crowdfunding in general
yeah,
is not high because you have these big companies that are in trouble or folding.
yep,
It's very bad. So that's why like at Roxley we have a very very lean team. I don't need to be a CMON. We don't need to be
yeah,
Asmodee. We want to always be very very thin, so that we can weather a gigantic storm. And there's literally no risk of Roxley not being able to fulfill its liabilities. Like we are very very responsible with our money, and we are very, uh you know we don't yeah, we don't we are not hungry to expand. We are not capitalists. We make games so that we can not we don't make games so that we can make money. We make money so that we can make games.
Yeah.
And so we this is what I want to do with my life. This is I don't have any, big ideas of selling the company. This is what I want to do until I retire. So
Yeah.
I, I want this to last, so we have to build a very strong boat. So
Yeah. No, that makes sense. How big is the team now? I think last we talked, it was like three that you had as actual like full time employees.
we have five
Yeah.
full time now. Um, we just hired a kid out of like art school
Yeah.
to help with graphic design, and that's awesome. I just love having a young guy on our team. And he's just 22 years old, and it's really great. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, we do expand. Basically, we expand through pain. So once we've experienced enough pain in a certain department,
Yeah.
and people are saying I can't do this, like I need help. Like when people need help, that's when we expand.
Yeah. It makes sense.
And not to just be aggressive and have lots of employees, and then hopefully we can find jobs for them, kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's the trap, right? A lot of these companies run into is that you build the machine, but then you got to keep feeding the machine, right? And then
Yeah.
that starts making you make decisions that are maybe not decisions you would have made prior to that machine kind of getting to the size it was, right? And you got to keep feeding the beast. So it sounds like you guys have really planned well for longevity. I know personally with games that I've backed of yours, they come on time. There's never been any issues. They come uber quality. Often when I've taken things like I can use Sky Game as an example. I took that out of the box. It was even better than I expected. So you guys
That
are,
one was quite late actually because we yeah, so Kira's also good for like
yeah,
she's like the scope downer, like you gotta no, it can't be this crazy, right? So like if she was on the on the team back then, she probably would have been like, dude, do you really want to make a unique sculpt for every single building, knowing
yeah.
how long that's going to take James and how much there was so much back and forth with the factory, and it was so difficult to
There's
to
two
get
things on it
those.
though. I think there's late and then there's late, right? So
Yeah.
it there's one thing being late, and I had one game that was I call it roughly on time. Roughly on time. It was a
Hmm.
few months late, but the key is keeping people informed and saying here's what we're doing, and this is what the impact is, and 99% of the people are like good. I'm glad you're not rushing. I'm glad this isn't going to come and be crap in a box. That you're actually
Hmm.
figuring this stuff out and making sure it's going to be proper and it's not going to arrive broken, right? So
Yeah.
and I mean, for me, the clay pieces were I mean, it's worth it. I mean, they're so cool, right? And again,
Hmm.
when I play that and I pull it at a game night, you see people pick up the pieces and they're just sitting there staring at the pieces individually before we even get to the game and the weight of them and all the the tactile nature of them. So, again, very different camp than people that are just a year and a half later,
Hmm.
people are still waiting for a game and they don't know what's going on, right? That's
Yep.
and there are unfortunately those are the bad apples of the industry that I think
Yeah.
have shook a lot of the consumer confidence.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it is so it's something that we've committed to, like publicly committed to recently. It was like we part of the sort of um degrading of the consumer confidence in crowdfunding is how late everything always is.
yeah,
So we do not want to be part of that problem, or we want to do as much as possible. But we are privileged to be able to do that because in order to have things with reasonable time, like so we want to like have 6 month turnarounds and we want to deliver on time. And through Dice Throne, we've done that several times.
yeah,
And a lot of that credit goes to Aaron, the operations manager at Dice Throne. But we would like so to do that, you need to have everything like so close to ready. Like so for Excalibur, the game was like almost like basically ready to print.
yeah,
It is ready to print. Uh, but there's always things. So we always want to like, but we did leave a buffer for things that we talk about during the campaign and ideas that we have during the campaign because there's so much input from from backers
Yeah.
that we do actually listen to.
Yeah.
Even sometimes even the ones that are quite mean-spirited, when they deliver them, we still read those things, and sometimes they're right, and it's really actually sucks when they're right and
Yeah.
they're also assholes. But we do like better is better, and we're not going to just disagree with something because the person delivering the feedback is not nice.
Yeah.
So so during the Excalibur campaign, like we at the end we decided to add like three or four more characters, and so we got ideas from the backers, and those have sort of inspired other ideas that are definitely like just totally functional, and well play tested. And so we did take a little bit longer, but ultimately we want to like we want to deliver on time.
Yeah.
That is like, and so to do that, to do all that preparation before, if you're a new creator, you don't have that privilege. That's a privilege that you earn over years of stability, right? Because
Yeah.
you're basically prepaying for the project before you even launch if you want something with a reasonable timeline, because you don't need to use that money to pay for, like, we're using money that we have in our coffers to pay our artists to make the game,
Yeah.
all the samples, all the tooling, all the machining, because we got to make all the tools, right?
Yeah.
All of the molds and stuff that are required to make all these components. So we do that we're trying to do that all before the campaign even launches. So,
Cash flow is king, right? I think
yep,
is the saying.
totally.
What's next up for you guys? So what's coming? Can you talk about what's coming next, or?
Well, we're working on a new brass, and we
Nice.
haven't like released. There's actually, I'll tell you this. There's gonna be three different covers of the game, which Mr. Cuddington has worked on all three of them,
Oh, cool.
and they are all awesome. And so some of them, I think one of them at least is gonna be controversial. Maybe somebody's gonna hate one of them for one reason or another. But they're all very awesome, and they represent the different industries and are in the location that we've selected. And yeah, they're all quite beautiful, but people can choose whichever one they want, and we may or may not, whatever one's the most popular, we may make that one the retail cover.
Oh,
We'll
amazing.
see. We'll see how it goes. But it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like what StarCraft 2 did or whatever. Way back, they released three different covers, or that game Abyss by Bruno Cathala had three different covers. It's just something fun to do. And it's something fun, like you give backers a choice. Which cover do I want? So we're doing brass, and we have a game called Feldspar, which is a match three strategy game,
Hmm.
which is very rad. It's very cerebral. It's quite short. Plays in 45 minutes. Very very fun. Working on a card game called Chibi Kaiju, with Manny, and which is pretty far along in development. It's a dueling game.
Oh, sweet.
Yep, and it's got some novel mechanics in it. And what am I forgetting here? I'm forgetting something. Um, I'm forgetting something important. Anyhow,
Well,
I'll think of
certainly
it.
there's the delivery of Excalibur, right? So
Yes, of
I'm
course.
gonna put the link in the show notes for those who want to check it out. Again, smash hit already. Still taking late pledges. People can find it on Kickstarter if they just type in Excalibur. It'll pop up as well if it's not already in their For You page, which I'm sure it is, just based again on the success of that campaign.
Okay, I remember. I remember. Okay, so we got one. I'm working on a adventure game called Dinomancers,
Mm,
which is quite a large scope game that we've been working on for years. And it's like it's an adventure game, but it's a one session adventure game, and I don't want any persistence, and I don't want a campaign because there's too many campaign games. People can't play them. They're too hard like to get to the table. So it's gonna be a one session campaign. Like it's not a campaign. It's gonna be a one session game. And then the last one is Flask. So me and Adam, who's also a designer at Roxley, who co-designed Skyrise with me and Sebastian. We we are working on this game called Flask, which is a pretty cool concept. It's basically we want to make a roll and move game actually because
mm.
I think it's a very nostalgic, fun, easy mechanic that really hasn't, like, people say, "Oh, roll and move sucks." Well, has anyone really tried to, like, modernize, like, design a modernized version of a roll and move game. So, it has obviously its roots are sort of based in backgammon, but it's very, very cool and has some elements of like space base, like things trigger on various
Oh, that's
rolls
cool.
for you, and there's building in it, and there's just all sorts of special powers and consumable cards, and it's awesome, and it's up for the Canadian Game Design of the Year award right now. It's one of the finalists, so
When is
be
that one
interesting.
coming?
That one we're just working on creative right now, and there's a few stones to turn over still. Like when we develop when we design and develop a game, there's I'll often be like, well, what if we haven't tried this thing with the game? A lot of designers will be like, well, it's fun, so let's like not screw with it. No, I screw with it. So we kind of branch it, and it's like so right now we're trying like what if there's a different factions for, then there's four different factions that came in the box, and
Yeah.
there's product design potential problems or challenges with this, but we ultimately want to turn over all the stones. So there's a little bit more development that we're kind of working on to before we call that one complete.
Oh my gosh. Man, you got a busy roster, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to wish you all the best on the finals on Excalibur and the delivery. You guys knocked this one out of the park. It just looks amazing, and we'll have to get you
Thanks.
back again maybe next year when we're talking.
Yeah, enjoy it.
We're talking the next batch, my friend.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, James.
Have a good one. You take care.
You too.
Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.